All right. Welcome back to Looks Good From Here, the podcast where we dive a little bit past the shiny Instagram version of the internet and have chats with real designers that are building real businesses, having real struggles and real celebrations. And that's what we're going to get into today with our guest, Stephen. Stephen is from Page One Branding, and he has a passionate business that you can clearly see as soon as you start reading about how much he cares for the small businesses that he's working with, and the way that he brings that through the websites he designs for them. Stephen and I got to meet in New York this year in person, which was amazing at Circle Day, but those discussions are never long enough. I don't know about you, Stephen, but I always feel like I am rushed and I want about 3 weeks to catch up with everyone. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. Thanks for coming.
Likewise, I'm so glad to be here. I felt like our time at the end was very rushed and very brief amidst all the noise. So it was great to get to hear a little bit about you and Nick and your story down there, and the great community you've been building. And really, I think I gravitated to you just instantly because you're a small business owner, which is a big term, right? That framework is like 0 to 250 million, so it's ridiculous. But you guys had such a heart for the community and for helping others. And that was just awesome to hear. So it was great to chat with you.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you. Yeah, we love what we do, and we love that we get to be in this position where we get to connect with an audience. And I think that's one of the things that we often talk about here at SquareKicker is the privilege we have to actually be connecting with all the designers. And it's a little bit different than kind of running your own design business. We're kind of able to tap into all of these amazing people and hear your stories. So it genuinely is our privilege.
Beautiful. So glad to hear that. Thank you.
Hey, so you started your business, according to your bio, kind of starting building a website for your parents' goat farm.
Yes.
That's not an origin story I've heard before. Do you want to kind of tell us how that came about and how you got to the place that you are now and kind of maybe the scope of what your business looks like now?
Sure. Perfect. So I was at an ad agency first, during college and then after college directly. And this was right 2008, 2009. The economy was in the US was starting to tank. And I guess globally as well. Right. So, I started there as an assistant while I was in college. All my breaks were spent at the ad agency. And then when I was graduating, they were like, "Do you want a job?" And I said, "Sure, I'll take a job." So I worked there. And eventually I worked in hospital marketing. And so I was a media buyer. If people aren't familiar with that, every commercial you see, every space, every ad space is traditionally bought by someone or planned by someone, a media planner or buyer. And so I would say, "Hey, let's put your commercial on this station or this radio station, or do this ad space on this website. Let's buy billboards here." And I did that for 13 hospitals in 5 states. And so I got to travel up and down the East to meet with hospital CEOs and CMOs and say, "Hey, let's spend your marketing budget here, here, and here." But I was in my young 20s and, doing the best that I could do. And I really enjoyed working with people. But after a few years of that, I was working very late one night and like 11 p.m. I'm not very late. That's relative. Okay. Late for me. It was a good Friday and I just shouldn't have been in the office, in my opinion. I was like, it was just late. And I was doing my budget planning and I just said out loud, "I don't want to be here." And I just felt like in my spirit, there was just like this resounding, "So why are you here?" And I know that that's different for everybody. I was not married. I didn't have children at the time, but it was just like this amazing, like aha moment of like, I have options. I didn't like, and I feel like that's something that, we just forget sometimes that we have options, And so I was just like, I just took a breath and was like, "Oh." And then from there, I didn't know what to do next. But then my parents they had a goat farm and they were making handmade goat milk soap. And they were selling that to friends and family, Christmas gifts. It would end up in lawyer bags and hospital things. And like, we need all these tchotchkes from local people. And they were like selling it around, but didn't have a name. It wasn't branded. It was just tied with jute, and that was it. And I just said, "Well, who do I know that I could help with all the marketing things I've learned?" And I was like, "I can help my parents."
Mhm.
And so I went to the owner of the company. I said, "I'm gonna quit and I'm gonna go help my parents market their soap." And they didn't have a name or anything. And he said, I didn't know what he was gonna say, but he was like, "That's fantastic, Steven." And I was like,
Wow,
"Oh, that's
awesome.
that's great." And so I turned in my 2 weeks and I ended up staying for 6 months. And so I was trying to leave and the full story real quick is that I actually was like, they were like, "Can you stay longer and help train your replacement?" I was like, "Yeah, but I really want to go." And I said, "Well, will you, I'm trying to get married. Will you pay me more? I need to buy an engagement ring." And they said, "Yes." And so they,
That's great. I love it. So motivated. Well
they,
done.
they paid me more and I stayed on a little bit longer. And then one day somebody comes in, she's new, she's a new hire, but she's over like hiring and firing there. And calls me in her office. She goes, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" And I was like, "I'm Steven. I worked here for 6 years, but I'm kind of on my way out." And she's like, I think, and I was like, and I finished. I said, it's probably time for me to leave. And she's like, "Yeah, I think it's time for you to like go on." I was like, "Okay, okay." Um,
Nice.
so I left and I branded my parents' company. We're in the South here in the States, and there's a lot of clay, and so it's
Mhm.
called Red Clay Soap. Just the
Nice.
juxtaposition between getting dirty in the clay and washing up, and I came up with the tagline, and we trademarked it: "Get dirty, live clean." And
Oh, I like that.
thank you, thank
I
you.
see that. I see that ad work coming into play there. Nicely
Yes, yeah,
done.
so we marked it. My wife, she's now homeschools our kids, but she was a designer at the time at the ad agency. That's where we met,
Mhm.
and so she did the original logo for them, and, so I was like, I had no idea. I had not ever built a website. I never designed anything. I kinda sketched. I like to draw and creative, but I'd never built anything, and I was like, "What can I use?" And I found there was Wix, and I found there was Squarespace,
Mhm.
and, I started their first site, I hope Squarespace doesn't care, but I started on Wix. And then like 2 years later, I moved it over to Squarespace and it stayed on Squarespace for years. Um, and their site went live. And then I realized I was like, well, but now what do I do? And so
Mhm.
um, I think a friend of theirs from North Carolina emailed me and they said, "Hey, you don't really know me, but I saw your work you did for your parents and they put it out there. My wife's doing this small business thing. Can you make her website?" And I was like, "Yes, I
Cool.
can." Um, and so this coming 2026 next year, that'll be 14 years ago already. Um,
Wow.
and so it's just it that's not a uncommon story. I know, but I know everyone's path is a little bit different, and that's just how it happened. The phone just kept ringing and ringing, and I just
That's
kept
so
saying
cool.
yes and yes. And I will say, Hannah, that I said yes a lot more back then than I do now. And so
Very smart. Yep.
the
Good
funnel the
growth
funnel
there.
of yeses has shrank tremendously, you know? Um,
It's a very important lesson there.
it's very
What does
important.
the scope of your business look like now? So did you say that was about 14 years ago,
Yeah,
16
so
years ago?
this 14 years this coming
14 years.
January, yeah.
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 Awesome. So what does the business look like now? You obviously are in a position where you can say no
No,
sometimes
yeah, that's
to
always beautiful.
businesses that don't fit.
Sure.
What is your business like today?
So the business now, it has stayed true to its core, which has always been like small businesses need help and they're not suddenly gonna go away.
Mm,
When I left the ad agency, I mean, it's really it was strange for me to just come from these budgets where people talk about money in terms that most people don't have. We don't have a concept of millions of dollars at a time. People, what's our budget? Oh,
mm.
5 million. What's our budget? 10 million. And then you go to a small business and like, what's our budget? And they're like, can you do it for 100? And you're like,
Yeah.
million? Or, and I know that we're joking, right? But it's just like we have this, the haves and the have nots. And I was like, we all are looking for the same thing. We just need help.
Mm, mhm.
And so it's really always been about small businesses and taking everything I've learned and helping them get to their whatever their next is. And so for me at that, 14 years ago, it was I can do everything and really just to to get the money in the door. I'll do your business cards, I'll do your brochures, I'll do your website, I'll do your e-commerce, I'll do your promos, I'll do your graphic design, I'll do your magazine ad, anything that I could design for a client. I'll do your pop-ups, your whatever I would do it, your banners.
The jack of all trades. Yeah.
Yes, and then that's very and so now now it's websites and now it's Squarespace websites. I
Mhm.
worked on Wix, Squarespace, WordPress, Shopify through the years, and did like Sketch and then worked with developers and did those in WordPress and really I settled on Squarespace about 7 years ago, like all in.
Mm.
Um, and that just
What was that shift for you? Why, I mean, you obviously tried a bunch of things. What was it about Squarespace that you felt like was the right place to build your business?
right or wrong, for me, I would say that it was a little bit about control on my
Mhm,
end and a lot about empowering businesses on their end.
mhm,
So for
mhm,
me, working with developers at that time, which it's changed now, but I didn't like not having answers.
mhm,
Um, and I've learned so much about code. I do a lot of CSS now, some light HTML for my clients, but I'm not a developer by trade.
mhm,
I've learned through the years, like many designers have in this space. Um, but when I was having to rely on someone else for, for 80% of a project, or something, and then a client would ask me something simple, when is this? Or what is this? Or why
mhm,
is this? And then I had to go turn and talk to somebody else and then go back to them. When you're managing multiple projects, that can get really exhausting.
mhm.
When you're having to do the phone tree back and forth. And that for me was a time that I need to simplify my offering so that my brain can be freed up to focus on clients and not have to do so much project management because for me right now I call it one plus, so it's me plus overflow sometimes. So I have a trusted like circle. Erin Turner's on my website, she's great,
Mhm.
designer that works with me sometimes, but overall it's still me, 85-90% of the time. And Squarespace, I always tell my clients, Squarespace to me I think is the number one platform for anyone to use after someone like me sets it up. So
Yeah.
clients just wanted that autonomy. So I just said, I'm going to learn this. I'm going to learn the best that I could possibly learn it. And then I'm going to help clients understand why it's so valuable for them. So
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. That's a great reason to be on a platform. I love that concept about like being able to empower your clients and
Yeah.
just being able to get them as much help as you can, as fast as you can, and then releasing them to go and run their small business. Because, like you said, often they're not dealing with, well, most of the time they're not dealing with $1 million budgets, and so they are price conscious and they want to be able to do these things for themselves. And yeah, that's really cool. You kind of touched there on like your project management skills. And I guess, you've kind of done this part of life where you were maybe juggling like all of the different pieces that you're making for different customers and then also managing a bunch of different developers. And I know you're a bit of a fan of like time blocking your time. You kind of are a bit of a yeah. Maybe a bit of an evangelist about time blocking.
Probably overly zealous, but yes. Yeah.
Share your time blocking wisdom. Why
Sure. My
what do you
time
do and why does it work for you?
Yes, it's not my idea. We all know that. But I do feel like an empowered evangelist. I love that term. Yes. I'm like very passionate about this. I'm so passionate about it because I feel like it's released me to do everything that people want to do when they're in that management or ownership position. So I know one
Mhm,
of the big things in our industry is like, are you a worker? Are you a doer? Or are you a worker? Or are you a manager? Are you a boss? Are you an owner? Or are you the doer? And for me, at least in this season, I still like doing. I think that's part of my background, like growing up on a farm, like just being hands on. I still, for now, actually love designing. And
mm,
I've resisted so much th getting out of that space when there's been times to actually hire, or maybe I should divide, add to the team or build this. I it I know everyone does it differently, right? And so it's never been wrong, but I do caution fellow designers sometimes that make sure the reason you're doing it lines up with what's actually real in your life.
mhm.
I've actually, because it's been 14 years, which is just wild. 14 years. I'll be 40 next year. So we're just dating
It
everything. I
goes
just
so
can't.
quick, doesn't it?
It goes
Goodness
so
gracious.
fast. Our kids are so old at this point. They're growing up so fast. So
Yeah.
I have seen agencies open and close through these 14 years. And
Mhm.
it's not that what they've done is bad. And opening and closing is a normal part of life. It's a seasonal thing. That's great. But I have talked to some of those owners and they said I either grew too fast or I never wanted to grow to begin with, but everyone told me it was the next step.
Yeah.
And I
That's
and
so true.
hearing
You
that,
hear that
that's not
so
an
often.
isolated thing. I have heard that.
Mhm,
And I'm always like careful to say it doesn't mean is it doesn't mean you haven't made millions. It doesn't mean you haven't learned. It doesn't mean you weren't able to go on that ski trip. Like you could have still done that. You could have still grown something beautiful, done
mm.
something great, made an impact. But on the other side of that, what you're saying is I closed because I was stressed. It wasn't what I wanted. It pushed my family like work balance. People don't say that anymore. They don't say balance. It's still, it created tension in my family. That's
Mhm.
what I've heard. And it created this thing that became for me not what I wanted. So I'm like,
Yeah.
even in the midst of good, I think that to your point about, this whole podcast, which is beautiful, Instagram shows that story arc of all the good that agency did.
Uh-huh.
Look at the people we impacted. Look at the money we made. Look at our clients. Look at the success. But then on the other side, 4, 5, 6, 7 years later, when that agency closes, I've talked to those owners and they said, you know, I was overworked. I was stressed. I was out of my depth. I didn't want this, but everyone said, this is your next.
Mm.
And, and hearing that from other people, and I've even talked when I said, how long did it take you to be profitable in your next when you grew your agency? And they said it took 3 years for us to get back what I had when I was a one-man show.
Wow.
That's not everyone's story. And I know that many people I know, you've interviewed them all. They're running successful agencies. I just approach it with caution to say, make sure the reasons you're doing it are because you want to run an agency,
Yeah.
not because you think that's the way to more money or more
Mm.
freedom.
Uh-huh.
And time blocking, it's an age old thing, but I know Sam Crawford does it. I know Ben Manley does it. Kelsey at Week of the Website, they do it. Promise did it at Go Live. And 6, 7 years ago, when I was really getting into this, I was like, who is doing this well, and what methods are they using? And I just really gravitated toward that, because what it does is it allows you to tell a client, I'm going to finish this now. It puts a timeline on the client's um, engagement, so that they
Uh-huh.
have to respond. And I know
Uh-huh.
it's like, well, they won't. I'm like, they will if they're selling that I need it by tomorrow. I need, or like it's going to be done tomorrow. And
Yeah.
what the shift for me is not just the time blocking, but the promise. So I've gone
Uh-huh.
a step further to say it's not just about I'm going to work on your project today. It's I'm going to be finished tomorrow. And these
Mm.
are like
So
really,
you're sharing this really openly with your clients. You're like, "Hey, I've booked
yeah,
Tuesday afternoon in for you. I need your
yeah,
stuff." So that's
yeah.
part of the process. It's not just personal time blocking. You're
Oh no,
sharing.
and I would say that's a great Hannah. I'm so glad you brought that up, because I know other designers, and this is not it's a you have to kind of pick what you want, how you want to do it, because I know other designers who will say it takes 2 weeks, but they'll do it in 2 days.
Uh-huh.
And they'll tell clients, oh, it takes 1 to 2 weeks, or it takes 3 to 4 weeks, but they're rotating those clients in the background, and theirs is completing it in 3 to 4 days. So they 10x. I mean, I'm using the 10x simple, but they're doing a 10x. It takes me 3 to 4 days, but I'll do it in 3 to 4 weeks.
Uh-huh.
And they're able to rotate those clients all in that same month, and then maybe they're going to do 12 different ones over 4 weeks. I think that can work for my brain. Again, in this season of life, I was having this is personal. I was having difficulty managing that because it became a false reality. Me
Mm.
telling the
Uh,
client 4 weeks and then doing it in 4 days meant I had to track two timelines.
yeah.
And if I was doing that for 6 clients or 8 clients, now I've got, okay, 4 days here, 4 weeks, 4 days, 4 weeks. And I was like, no, this has to be real time.
Yeah, that's a lot to hold in the brain when you
That's a
also
lot.
have
And
a
I know there's
family
some
and a
people like
business you're
that,
running.
you know,
Yeah.
but I was like, I need one reality. My kids are young. I've got a
Mm.
lot in the headspace, and I was like, I need
Uh-huh.
one reality, and one reason. And,
Uh-huh.
and, and the, what I've started to tell clients is I've done this long enough. It's been 14 years. I worked at an ad agency. This for me is I start designing in my mind as soon as we started having this conversation, I'm designing your website right now.
Yeah.
And after you've done it hundreds of times, it's no longer seen as a chore for me. It's a creative process that for me, in my season of life, is very engaging. It does take a lot. Sometimes I'm like, I need a mental decompression. Um, but it's high creativity, high reward, high stakes, and then we're done. And it's like, boom, we did it. And we go on to
Uh-huh.
the next one. And it really, I think, shakes clients out of the age old, this is going to require a lot of me. Because I'm
Uh-huh.
saying, hey, I'm gonna help you copyright. I'm gonna do this with you. And you know what? It's gonna take 2 days. Hey, it's gonna take 4 days. Do you
Uh-huh.
think we could do this together in 4 days? That's a lot better than can we 6 to 8 weeks from now, we'll have this wrapped up, you
Uh-huh.
know? 4 days. They're like, really? And I
They're
know
going to
I
be
I
super
know you've
cheesy
interviewed
cats.
Kelsey, and she was like, the way they first did it, and it didn't their first website didn't launch on time. The guy was like, "It's okay." I so again, it's not unique to me, but it's just, yeah, telling the client to set that expectation in real time for them,
Yeah.
has just changed the game. It just changed it,
That's
and the
so cool.
calendar's real, and then I can say, "I have work here, I have a day off. I have work, I have a day off." And I think that for me was just the biggest thing was people were saying, "You need to grow the agency and your team so that you can have a break." And I was like, "Well, if
Mm,
you charge enough and you worked this week, you can take a Friday off."
mhm.
Like, because I've charged enough on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And
Yeah.
s and so, anyway, I could talk about that all day. I'm a big evangelist of time blocking, so
I love
it's
that,
just
and I love
changed the
that you
game.
share it so openly with your clients and kind of, like, get them on board with the process and being like, "Hey, we're in this together. We're gonna
We
make this
are.
deadline. We need to be working on this concept together." I think that's really cool because often, like, one thing that just sprung to mind as you were talking is we often talk about the different models web designers bring into these different things. Everyone's got their own way of working.
Yeah.
You know, not one way works for everyone and their particular lifestyle and the way their brain works. But what we don't often talk about is what the expectations the client brings into it. You know,
Yes.
they might have worked with a web designer that had a really different process, or they've read some stuff online. They did their
Yeah,
little Google of like, how long does it take to build a website before they come and chat
right.
to you? And so they're bringing all these expectations as well. How do
So
you
many.
kind of communicate your process really clearly to them?
You're so okay, you're so great at your questions, Hannah. Okay, 'cause I just love it. So I have a phrase that I say to clients and even to myself, and it's education, b education sets the expectation.
Mm,
And I think to your point, clients come in with their expectations. Oftentimes, those expectations are rooted in negative experiences. It's
mhm,
very rare that clients will come with a I just used to have a great web designer, or I had this amazing, graphic designer in Denver. And then, after 10 years, we just decided we didn't want to work together. And so I'm just looking for a new amazing person. It's very rare that you hear those stories. Um, I would say that my clients right now are different than they were, over a decade ago. But
sure.
but the theme throughout them is that I worked with a big agency. I worked with an agency, and it cost me this massive number. And now I'm
Mhm,
running this other company, and we don't have that budget. So it's always this. What comes up? The themes from the client expectation is usually a negative experience or a lack of money or lack of time, um, or lack of team or process. We don't have the manpower. We don't have the manpower. We don't have the time. We don't have the budget, which is all very
mhm,
common in life. And so they're coming into this with this, how much is this going to cost me? They're concerned. And I think that that's what I've tried to do. And I think I told this to Ben Manley once. No, it was Will Myers. And I said, the reason I'm trying to do projects quickly is because I know if I finish a project quicker and the client is delighted, they will refer me faster.
yeah.
And I'm trying to compress the timeline between them being hesitant and them being delighted.
Mm,
And if we say you're going to be delighted in 6 weeks, well, I'm like, what if I can delight you in 6 hours with a new homepage?
mhm,
And they're like, that sounds crazy. And I'll tell you frankly, they're not usually even as impressed with the time because they just don't, just like talking about millions of dollar budgets at agencies, they almost don't care. They just know they have it's not seen as impressive to them per se, as much as they just have something on their plate they need done. I need a
mhm,
website. I've struggled. Our business is launching soon. We're not ready. It's for them. It's often, I feel like, two camps. One, the person who really has a vision for it, and they do want to work creatively through you with that process. The other person is like, I need this and
yeah.
I don't know where to start, and I need someone to help me. And the last time I did it, the developer ditched me, or the
Mm,
last time I did it, something went south, or it took too long, or whatever the case may be. And so I'm trying to like bring all those emotions together and be like, I hear what you're saying. Based on what you're telling me, I don't think this is going to take 2 to 4 weeks.
mhm,
I think we can do this in 2 to 4 days, and it's not going to cost X, and we can do it here. And but here's what I need from you. I work a little bit differently from people, but we're going to get you there by Friday.
mm,
And just really kind of listen to where they're at. Why do you want to start this now? Do you really need? And then I realized deadlines aren't just made up by people. I need it by October 10th. What is that date to you? It's just that I had
Right.
to pick a date. Okay. Well, when do you really need it? Um, so I feel like hearing their expectations of what they're because they're expecting high cost, high time frame, high commitment.
Mhm.
And I felt like I have to do something different in my business so that I can stand out on the phone call. E
Mhm.
Every time I do a pitch, it's not always Zoom. I don't get
Mhm.
to be as, weirdly expressive with my hands that are moving all the time on this call. So sometimes it's just my voice, which hopefully it's usually
I
for the
mean,
better.
also great, but yeah.
Thank you. You know, so, Promise over at Go well, she's n I don't she's still at Go Live, right now, but I know she's in a great transition for herself right now with the business, but, I called her years ago for personal advice, and I was like, "Hey, I need to schedule a call with Promise on her website." I was like, "Book, yes, thank you." And
Amazing.
she told me I told her this once, and I said, "I'll never forget it," and I even referenced this with people, and I said, she told me one time, "Your conversation is your currency."
Mm,
And when I have a client phone call that goes for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour, and I don't know, my wife's like, "Did you get the job?" I'm like, "I don't know." She's like, "Well, why'd you" I know I talk a lot and I can but I'm like, I had to hear where they're at. Like,
yeah.
I wanna know, I wanna hear their story. And
I
so
think that shows so clearly in your web design as well. Like if you look through your portfolio, and I was having a little scan before this conversation, like your design aesthetic really shows in there. But also, I felt
thank you.
like I got a glimpse of every single one of those businesses and the people running behind it. And you clearly have a real gift for understanding a person. And I think the fact that you kind of are turning those around in that amount of time as well just is super impressive. The way that you are kind of capturing the like heart or the essence of the people that
Yeah,
you're building for. That's
thank
really,
you.
really impressive.
Thank you.
That was such a wisdom drop. I feel like if anyone's following along with this podcast, like I just like revert like about 5 minutes back or 10
Yeah,
minutes back. I've lost how long we've been chatting for and just
and
re-listen to that piece because there was so many good little drops of
thank
wisdom. But
you. Thank
there
you.
was one bit that you said that I just wanted to reiterate in case anyone missed it, which was like getting your client from hesitant to delighted as fast as possible. And
Yes,
that I think if we can do that for our clients, if we can, because everyone's coming in a little bit hesitant, like you said, whether they've had a good experience or a bad experience in the past, we're all bringing hesitancies in and they're coming with something that's precious to them, their business,
right.
something that they care about. And so they're going to be a little hesitant. They're going to be a little protective. And how fast can you carry them through to that point of being delighted? That is gold. That is such a
Thank
great
you.
way to win
Well,
customers and win
thank
fans
you.
that are gonna share your work with other people, which
Thank
is
you.
so
And
important.
I should add, because I know I have a lot of great clients. I mean, I really have. I think that's part of, making sure you're aligned with your clients, right?
Mm,
Making sure that they trust you and that you trust them, they're gonna get you what you need. I think that's really important too. But there are some clients who aren't the hesitancy looks different for everyone. So for some, it's just a matter of, should I work with you or should we start now? I think some people are gonna work with you, but it's just like, we're gonna do this next year, whatever. I think there's some people who aren't as don't approach it with as much negativity. But I think to your point, anytime you can get them delighted or happy or excited, even if they're already in your camp. Hey, I'm going to work with you,
mm,
Steven. But if you can just get them excited sooner or faster,
mhm,
it just makes everybody just happier. The day is better. If they're happy, then that's what we need. And I think sometimes
yeah.
it just takes too long to do that. So anyway.
Yeah, and that's when the jobs really start to drag, right? When you're not
Yes,
enjoying
yes.
it and your client's not enjoying it, and you're all just like, "Can we just please
Can we
finish?"
just wrap up already? And I've been on those, and I had several of those through the years. They just
Yeah.
Yes, the silence, and that's the biggest. And this was, I don't remember who was. It was somebody else in the Squarespace community. They said it was Puno at this year's Squarespace. She
Mm,
said she said we've decided. I'm paraphrasing here, but she said on stage at the end there, she was like, we just decided that we're not gonna something like sit in silence. We're gonna if there's an issue, we're gonna address it immediately.
mm,
And I think even I still struggle with that sometimes. I'm like, if there's a miscommunication in an email, I'm like, should I email now or should I email tomorrow? Should I?
mhm,
And I should get on the call, because and that's why the live design has helped, because I've realized early on when you're sharing a design or something and there's questions of, I don't like this. That's the
mm.
biggest thing, is how do you deal with client, feedback, or clients not liking your design? That's always a struggle for us as designers.
Mhm.
if you do it live or you do it quickly, then you can address the objections quickly and explain your reasoning. But if it takes you a week and they're just wondering where it is, or it takes longer and they're like, what's the design? And then you send it via email and then they don't
Mm,
like it. They're not going to email you right away and say, I don't like it. They're going to sit on it for a couple days and you're going to start sweating under your shirt and be like, do they like it? And then they're going to finally say,
yeah.
oh yeah, I saw it. And it's not what I had in mind. Now we've got
Mhm,
all this time to your point. And then the whole thing is, and if we could have just said, hey, I've done this to you, let's look at it right now together
mhm.
and then address those, then we can just even objections can get turned into a bridge to that delight,
Yeah.
instead
Yeah,
of us
because if you can
explaining.
respond to that quickly or explain your kind of reasoning behind it or,
Yeah.
you know, build that into that moment of delight for them, like that in itself is a great win, even if you started off with a place where they didn't
Yeah.
like something in particular.
That's
So
right.
I just caught something there that I think I didn't know about your process. Are you presenting your clients their websites live every time?
Not every time, and that's something I've had to. So the ultimate idea is that I call it 48, and then some clients are like, "Is it really? Are you working for 48 hours?" I'm like, "No, that would be an $80,000 website. No, or whatever it is." I was like,
Yeah, if
"No,
I'm
I'm."
staying up till 3 a.m., you're
That's right.
paying me
That's
a
right.
little more. Yeah.
I had to come up with a name for it. So I know there's design sprints, designer days. There's all kinds of things, and 48 hours it landed. It's 2 days. Um, it is supposed to be 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the following day because of Squarespace is worldwide and the marketplace and things. I have a lot of clients, in the UK, or West Coast, whatever the case may be.
Uh-huh.
I've realized it doesn't work for everybody to do 2 consecutive days. So I've had to like relax a little bit, and I've just told them you're going to get 2 of my days, but we may not complete it consecutively because of time zone differences. Um, my preference is always to present live, and I usually do that by 12 or 1 p.m. that first day. So it's a homepage reveal. Your homepage is done. Let's look at it together. For that reason,
Um,
because I want to see their face. I want to see their eyes. I want to hear if there's hesitancy. And I want to ask them about that. If I go here, and I usually am like, we're sharing, and I'm like, and here we go, and I click share screen, boom, and I can see right away if their eyes go, or if they
yeah.
just sit there. And then I just stop the conversation usually and say, you don't like it. And they're
Yeah.
like, "No." And I'm like, "You went no. You went down." And so I say, "Well, let me," and then I'll just pause and say, before we get into, because I could already tell in your face, before we get into it, let me just walk you through my reasoning, what I
Uh-huh.
had in mind here, and then we can just talk through how I can improve on what you're looking for here. And so I do that. And I've had a couple times of this to say, this is nothing like what I wanted. And I'm like, oh man, this is even some of them like really a bit aggressive. Like, you said you were gonna, delight me. You
Uh,
saw my last experience. This is not what I wanted. Where do we go from here? And I got on the phone and I say, listen, I can design anything you want me to design. I need to understand what we're aiming for better.
mhm.
So can you walk me through
Such a
again
wise
what you're looking
response.
for? You know? And
Mm.
they're like, yes. And then I'm like, great, give me 2 hours, and I turn around. They're like, this is great. I've had that. It's not all that it's not, thank the Lord, it's not every time, but I've had that enough to like, those are like pillars when I'm like, I remember that conversation. And that
Uh-huh.
happened live one time too. She was a therapist outside of Chicago, and she wanted a funky design. And I didn't go funky enough. And she goes, this is boring.
Yeah.
It's not what I want. This is just not cool. And she was kind of like a hip therapist, whatever. This is just not cool. Like, and she was like looking at the screen, like looking at all the stuff I designed. She's like, this is just like whatever. And she was so flat. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I said, okay, can you describe to me like I need some really good descriptions. I just need to
Uh,
hear it again or differently because I obviously missed it, so she did. And then I said, yeah, I said, give me 3 hours. And I did it, and I was like, "This is bonkers." I was like, yeah, and I went on. I was like, "I'm gonna go all in with like hip
drink
therapy
some
here."
extra coffee and just let it all come out
Yes.
immediately,
And I
yeah.
said, okay, it was like 4 p.m. I'm like, let's look again. And she goes, whoa, this is
Oh,
it. And I was like, yes, yes, yes. But so I'll tell you, I still hate those calls.
yeah.
As I think we all do. It's just tough when someone's like, I hate this, or I don't like this. And because I've set myself on the clock, sometimes my wife is like, you're putting yourself under stress. Like you're you're forcing the objections, you're forcing the conversation. And I'm like, I am, but I'm also forcing the paycheck and forcing the delight
Yeah.
because I'm just relying. I know I can deliver. It's just an understanding thing. And it's a little bit weird, but I'm trying to do, I guess, like not force friendship, but I'm trying to get in their world as much as I can, as fast
Mm,
as I can, not via email, but I want to talk for 30 minutes to an hour. I want to hear them. I have a questionnaire they fill out, and I want to get like in their mind, in their client's mind, as fast as I can. And I always tell them, like, design at this point, especially with Squarespace, with something like SquareKicker, there's not designing in 2010 was hard. Like, designing in 2009 was hard. Designing in 2015 was hard.
mhm,
Um, it is easier now to be a web designer, and to do it well. The
mhm.
tools are better, and I'm
The tools
excited
are
about the
there. Yeah.
future.
Yeah.
They're just better. And so the future is bright. And I always tell them there's not a limitation anymore that there used to be in 2000, 2010, 2015. Whatever you want to see, just share with me what you
Mm,
want to see, because whatever animation you're thinking of, whatever hover, whatever it is, it can be done. Whatever transition, it can be done. I just need to know what you're thinking of, where we missed the mark.
mhm. That takes such, like, humility and I think such an incredible attitude towards your clients to rather than react, like, in that moment, like you said, none of us
Oh,
are
I'll do it
doing our
off camera. I
calls,
go,
and you
I
just
go
wanna
for
be
a
like,
walk first.
"Ah, no," and, like, quick hang up the phone and,
That's
like,
right.
go and cry in the corner for a minute, but to actually just turn that around and be like, "Okay, clearly I don't understand what you're asking for, so tell me," I think is such a great response in that moment of going like, "This isn't personal to me," it feels personal because I designed it and
I
this is
designed that. I thought it was
ours.
good, but yeah.
But, like, you're not angry with me as a person, you just have a particular thing in mind that I haven't understood, and I
I
think having
missed it.
that
I missed it.
attitude is brilliant. It's such a good way of being able to then bring that delight back to your
Well, I
client.
would say I mean, I take the encouragement, but it is a daily. I'm still working through all that sometimes, and I
Yeah.
will take a lap with the dog, for a walk. But I have learned. I think that thing about conversation, which we miss in the online space, it just happened this last week. I got feedback from a client in a Word document,
Mm,
but they also sent a Loom, and the Word document just was written. When I read it, I was like getting frustrated.
mm,
But then at the
mhm.
top in big letters, he wrote watch video, like in like big letters. He's like, here's a video, watch video. And then here's all my comments. And I was like, oh. And like 2 minutes into the Loom, I was like, oh, he likes the design. But when
Yeah.
you just read the criticisms, just in a bullet point, you're like, what? And like something like, don't,
Yeah.
don't understand this thing, or this is redundant or unnecessary thing here. I'm like, what are you talking about? What do you mean unnecessary? I designed nothing's unnecessary, whatever the case. And then you see the video and you're like, oh, and I feel like that's just, man, it's,
Uh-huh.
you know, we we avoid those. I avoid those because we all want the perfect journey. We all
Uh-huh.
want A to B is easy. A to B is great. Everyone's happy. We go and that's what social media just living in the I picked up my keyboard in front of me. Living in the keyboard world, we just miss so much. We miss so much. And I think especially for like you said, that client expectation, the website is like one of 100 or one of 1,000 things on their list. And
Mhm.
and frankly, if they're an actual, I would say actually, this is a weird word, but if they're an owner of a company, the website's like a non-starter for them. Like they're running a septic tank company, they're running a fencing company, they're running, a bakery, or maybe they're a photographer. Like they're a photographer. I'm a baker. Like I know I need this thing,
Mhm.
and I'm excited to see it, and I know it will help me, but they're not dreaming about websites like we are. Like they're not like, I'm a designer. They're like, I bake scones. This is what
Yeah.
I do. I think about scones. I think about flour ratios. And so I feel like, when they're typing, I'm one person, I'm a vendor. I'm one person they're sending an email to today at
Mhm.
9 p.m. after they've already baked all their scones. And I think that's just there's just so much room. And this is new. This is new, I guess, with having children. I just I'm trying. I'm not always doing the best, but I'm trying to extend myself more grace and just realize there just needs to be so much more grace with each other because
Mhm.
I'm a small business owner. You're a small business owner. You called me. I'm going to help you. We're going to get it done. There's nothing really wrong here. You
Yeah,
know,
we're
you
all
don't,
just trying to do our thing, and
you know,
maybe we
you
just
don't like a
haven't
design. It would
communicated
be the
really
same if
generously.
you made my steak at a restaurant. And I'm like, you know what? Tonight you missed the mark. I'm not going to like throw my steak across the restaurant, whatever the case may be. Like
That
I'm not,
doesn't feel like your vibe. I don't get that
that's not,
picture that
not
you're,
my
like,
vibe. That's right. So
hurling steak
we're
at
just
people.
all trying to move our business forward. I think that's the shift
Yeah,
for me. It's just been like, this is a business owner who needs to move forward. My
yeah,
job is to help them move forward. I have one piece of that puzzle. I'm not trying to solve their business today. I'm trying to move something about their business forward in a positive direction. And if they need, and along that journey, ask them other questions that maybe I can impart. Because I think we as designers do a disservice to ourselves. And I'm sorry, I'm digressing real quick. I'm sorry, Hannah. But when we think of ourselves only as designers, I think that's the worst thing we can do. I
mhm,
know I'm a Squarespace expert and I raise that flag proudly. And I say, I know, because some people have said, hey, I talked to this person over there at this agency and they said Squarespace can't do this. And I said, I guarantee you they don't build in Squarespace.
mhm.
I've been like really passionately frustrated with answering objections about either what I do or what Squarespace can and can't do. I'm like, I'm the first to tell you what it can and can't do. And I'll
Yeah,
tell you that company who wants your money, whatever, they don't understand Squarespace. Um,
no, they
so
built
I'm
in
like,
Squarespace 5.0, and
that's
we've
right. Yeah,
miles
that's right.
past
They
that.
they
Yeah,
left the 5.0 train. We're
yeah,
now on 7.1 plus. Things have changed in 15 years.
yeah,
Um, so but I feel like so I'm very quick to say, hey, I'm an expert in this field. I understand marketing, I understand design, but also to say that I'm a business owner. You're a
mhm,
business owner. Let me just talk to me about your business right now. And that's usually how I start whenever I get a new client inquiry, like, hey, where should we start? Do you want to start? Do I want to start? Whatever. And I always like chuckle. I'm like, it's all good. And I say, well, how about we just start by telling me how is business going? Where are you at in your business? Because the website's going to be great. You're going to love it. Let's just put that on the shelf.
mm,
And then they're always like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, because whatever website you want to build, we're going to build you a website and it's going to be great. Right. But to get there, let's just talk about the business.
mm,
Why do you need it now? How is revenue going? Are you getting work from your website? Are you getting conversions? Are you getting money from your website right now? Or is it just
mm,
like a brochure for you? Are you relying on the website for money? Like, what is the expectation of this website for you? How long have you been in business? How long have you been open? Is business okay? Or is this like a Hail Mary for you? You
mm.
know? And I just get really as I try to get as personal as they want to get without like overstepping because I'm just like, you're a business owner, I'm a business owner. Let's just talk about business.
Yeah, because
Um,
it's never about the website, right? Like,
no,
they don't really want a website. They want something for their business. There's a
for the
reason
business,
that they think this
for
is
the
something
business.
that they need or something they need to improve. So,
That's
such
right.
a smart way of starting.
I think that and, I don't. That's my perspective on the future of web, which is this is me and my own little slice of South Carolina, and whatever. I think that is the we've gone through the transition of websites are hard. Like websites were kind of locked away by the developer wizards for so long. No one
Mhm,
understood them. You
mhm,
have to learn a new language to even like, and that's, I mean, I don't mean that like to be facetious, but that was a reality for over a decade of like, these people over here are the high, they're getting paid a lot and they're the ones we have to go talk to and we have to speak their language and then we have to have an intermediary, we have to have like someone who kind of gets code but not really, who can like translate for them, and then you would go to like the layman bit in layman's terms. It was this really weird back and forth, for
yeah,
so, and I think that's been shattered and it's become so commoditized and accessible now. But I think the future is more tool focused. And for the first time in my career, built a website just, I think it'll launch this week for an influencer with like 1.5 million followers. And it's not, I don't want to say it's not pretty. It's very intentional for their audience. They're sending a lot of people
mhm,
to the website for the sole purpose of clicking on something and buying it.
right.
And they were like, we need people to go to our homepage. And I was like, and I said, this is and I didn't say strange. This is the most different homepage I've ever built in my life
Mm,
because it's like a homepage of links, basically. It looks like a link tree.
Wow. Yeah.
It looks better than that, I would say. It's very nice.
I
It's
have no doubt, being one of
and
your designs, it's gonna be
but
pretty. Yeah.
but it's intentional and it's for a
Yeah.
purpose. He's like, we need people to go from social media, from TikTok or Instagram, and go
Mm,
right to the homepage and find that thing that we talked about with zero loss of understanding our POV. It's not about POV, like it's not about POV, it's not about our aesthetic, it's about getting the conversion. And so I
yeah.
think that's the next step is it's a tool. Like websites, so I think will be sought more of like tools for the business. And I think right now they're
Mhm.
still thought of like as almost like trophies for businesses. Here's our website.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think that's changed. I want them to be beautiful, but they're really a tool. So
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Stephen, I could do this all
I'm
day
sorry.
because
I'm sorry.
clearly you have so much wisdom to offer. Um, but I really want to touch on something really cool that you have coming up, that I
Yeah.
think is an awesome opportunity for the community to get more of this from you and some amazing experts that you've kind of gathered. So
Yes.
you've launched the designer retreat.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
like, the first thing everyone should know about this is that it has the coolest website. That color palette is stunning.
Thank you.
But tell me a little bit about the designer retreat, what it is, and why you were inspired to start it.
Sure. Um, so the designer retreat came out of so I first paid Promise at Go Live for a consultation. Then I paid Omari for a consultation. Then I paid Ben Manley for a consultation. Then I paid Omari for a consultation again. These are through the years. And then I paid, so I'm very much, I love chatting with people and be like, hey, I need to talk with you right now
Mm,
about my business. And I was doing that kind of cyclically, I guess. I was getting to a point where I was like, I need to talk to somebody this year. Um, and I was just starting to wonder, I think there are other people who have business questions, but in order to really have someone answer what's going on in your business, you have to talk with them live. And I know that our community has such a beautiful course program centric, there's a lot of courses and offerings out there for people. But one of the phone calls, I was talking with another designer from Squarespace, and she said that she took a course and it was good. But took another course and it was good. And the courses are not bad at all. I love courses, but she still had questions. They were business questions, like how do I
mhm,
do this in my business? How do I do this in my business? And on the call, she was asking me about my 48-hour process. Like, how are you actually getting your clients to respond? Like, just talk to me, Stephen, about how you're doing this, the nuts and bolts. And I had that one call. And then I talked with somebody else a few months later, and we were talking about this thing, but then they were like, cool, but talk to me about how you're actually doing this with clients in such a short amount of time. I'm like, well, it's not
right.
my idea, but I'm doing this. So I just had this like moment where I'm like, so there are people who are seasoned designers who are taking great courses, who are doing beautiful work, but they're still having design questions. But I mean, design questions or client questions, whatever the case may be, business questions.
Uh-huh,
But they can't get those answers unless they tell someone flat out, this is what I'm thinking of my business. This is where I'm at in my business. And that you can't have that. I know there's Q&A sessions sometimes, but really you have to sit down with somebody like we're doing now. And I
uh-huh,
think there's wisdom, in hearing. And I have to
uh-huh,
hear what you're saying so I can, just like we help with clients, tell me where you're at, and then I'll tell you my best wisdom. And I think there's like the advice, there's good things. And I think some courses we need because I don't know how to do X. Like I don't know how to do this CSS. I don't know how to do this transition. But then there's
sure.
like, um, this is where I'm at in my business, and these are what I'm thinking about doing next. What do you think about that?
Mm,
That kind of open-ended like question is very personal, very like in the weeds. And now
mhm,
I'm gonna pull everything that I know to the table, to the forefront to try to answer your question in real time. And so I was like, I feel like there's an audience who wants to get in the room or needs to get in the room. And I was like, I'm that person. And I was like, I could either call Promise again, call Ben again, call Kelsey, call all the people that I know who I respect the industry, and ask them my questions. I said, or I can get them in the room.
yeah.
And so I just was like, what if there's an event we can have where everybody's coming together for it's a day and a half. I'm calling it 2 days, but it's a dinner, and then a full day together. And we can just talk candidly about where we're at in our business. And it's almost like it's the end of Circle Day, those last but without
Uh-huh.
the music. I love the music. Don't turn the music off. I'm just saying it's like the rooftop on Circle Day, post Circle Day is where so many quick connections happen. And I remember
Uh-huh.
being up there with somebody, his name was Noah from, I think Snow Days. And we were
Yeah.
having a great conversation as well as Aaron. I can't remember his agency, but we were having a good chat. And then Sam comes up, from Squarespace, and he like opens the door. He's like, "You guys can keep having this conversation, but you can't have it here." He's like, "You can join SquareKicker, down the road." And so it's like we were all like, "No problem, we got you." But I feel like those micro interactions, it's where we take everything from Circle Day, and your brain is
Uh,
just like, and then you're like, let me talk with you about your business. How are you doing this in Denver? How are you doing this in San Antonio? How are you doing this in the UK? How are you? And we're trying to have these like aha moments. And I don't even, let me rephrase. I don't think we try. I think the beauty of conversation is that when you have genuine conversations, you naturally have aha moments.
uh-huh.
And I remember talking with Omari, and I said, good gives birth to good. And when two people bring their best or bring their good to a conversation, it's just like, it's this like reciprocal thing that happens very quickly. And I was like, we need
Mhm.
an event where it's very intimate. It's not 1 to 100 or 200 or more. It's like one to small. And for this event, it's 1 to 20. It's 24 to 6. And I was like, I'm going to email people that I value, that I know. So Christy, Kelsey, Will Myers, Omari, Kelsey, um, Ben Manley, and just say, do you want to be a part of this? Becca Harpain will be there as well. And I just emailed them. They didn't know me really. And then they emailed back, yes, 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 yes. And I was
It's
like,
like
this is
it's
beautiful.
it's like the ultimate room of people,
And
right? Like if
it is.
you like you
It
said, if
is.
you're gonna like book all these consultations,
That's right.
those are the people you're gonna want to know
And
from. I
that's
love
what
that.
Sam
What a
Crawford asked me
valuable room to be in.
when we were at New York and Circle Day. Sam was like, where'd you come up with the price point? And I was like, the price point was me thinking of what does it cost if you were going to pay each one of these people for an hour of their time? Plus
Mm,
food. And I'm because they all have on their website, talk with me, talk with me, talk with
amazing.
me. And I was like, their time, and I really feel like our community is great in Squarespace, but I I also wanted to respect like they have a lot to bring, and I wanted to really, you know, um, honor their time as
Mhm.
busy designers, developers, agency owners, and say, will you come to this event for me? So that's why the price point is, higher than you might normally find. Um, but I think when you're in that room together, it's just something different. And one thing I told Becca, we were doing a prep call about the event. She was talking about she's going to AI now and she's doing automation. That's kind of her future. She's building, AI tools over at inside the Square, which is wonderful. But I said, I am excited for you to talk about what you're doing at Inside the Square, but I'm most excited for you to bring everything that has gotten you where you are into
Yeah.
the conversation. 'Cause she's about to, and it's not a secret anymore. And I think she's about to be a new mother, right?
Mhm.
Or she is, and I don't know. I don't remember her due date, but, so she's on maternity leave right now through the end of the year. And I said, I want you to bring in Charleston everything that has gotten you here. And, being a new mom, because she's
Mhm.
even had to transition her business for how do I prepare for maternity leave? And I feel like there's so many
Mhm.
things in our businesses that we have skill sets that we don't often bring into the design or web conversation. I'm like,
Mhm.
being a mother, and I even reached to someone emailed me about the event, and she was like, I'm not sure if it's the right fit because I'm in this industry, but I'm starting to build in Squarespace. And I emailed back and I said, everything that you've done offline is valuable online.
Mhm.
And I said, I want those conversations to be to flow together more seamlessly because that's what makes us who we are as designers.
Mm.
It's how you are as a parent. It's how you are in your past failure. It's what you're doing right now. It's what your hobbies are. Everything, how you think about your design is influenced so much about how you're living your day to day. And
Mm.
I was just thinking about what powerhouse panel could be in the room with such diverse backgrounds that they could impart wisdom to people. So that's the designer retreat. It's in Charleston, March 23rd and 24th, or 24th and 20th. I should know that. I think it's 20. I got a card right here. Oh my gosh. This is embarrassing. Okay. 23rd and 24th, 23rd and 24th,
Whew, we got there.
2026. Phew.
So long
That's
as
good.
you show up on the right day, it'll be
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Just show up on the right day. Yeah. So I'm just really excited about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. Like you said, there's so many different bits that you learn as you grow a business. It doesn't matter if you've grown a huge business or you're just running your own business, like you just build lessons upon lessons upon lessons and,
Yeah.
ways that you deal with clients, ways that you manage your emails, all of those conversations that are so valuable. And when you have the opportunity to be in a room and communicate those things. It doesn't matter if your businesses are completely different. You
No, no,
have those
it's
conversations. Like you said,
yeah.
you spark those moments and you spark those bits of excitement. And I think that's really important to keep us energized and recharged. And this just sounds like such an amazing thing. I wish I could book like a flight from New Zealand and book myself in, because even, running SquareKicker, like I have questions all the time where I'm
All
like, oh,
the
I'd love to know how you do that there. And it's such a valuable thing that you're offering for people. And I think
yeah.
anyone that goes is going to be hugely blessed by that time.
Thank you. Yeah, we're really excited. And that I think this just real quick, that's the thing. The panel, when I thought it through, and it was a kind of an afterthought, but I went back and I was like, this is perfect. Is like Kelsey at Week of the Website, she's kind of in transition right now. She's still running it, but she's running it less than she was when she first started. And so we have
Mm,
Ben Manley, who sold Knapsack already. He's already gone through, I built an agency and now I've sold an agency. And then you
mhm,
have Becca right now, who's like fiercely independent, as it were. I'm that way as well. And then you have Christy Price. Christy's kind of this, this amalgam of many different things that she's successfully run
mhm,
in her business, whether it's template shops, digital courses, web design itself, and then Will Myers, um, who comes at it from really a community mindset aspect of
mhm,
how do you and that is so powerful outside of web design. How do you engage an audience? Like, how do you engage clients? And then of
mhm.
course we have Omari, who is like, we all call him, the godfather of Squarespace. Um, and so that panel, it didn't matter. I've emailed some people who've asked, like, do I have to be a veteran to come, like a veteran of Squarespace, whatever? And I said, no, like your perspective, what you would get out of it might be different, but you're going to get something out of it because the spectrum here is about imparting everything they've learned on their journey
Mm,
into your business, wherever we've had people who sign up who've had 1 year, people who've been doing it for 10 years.
mm,
And so at first I was like, I was expecting all 10-year people to sign up, but I've
mhm.
been really excited to read like the onboarding questions from like 1 year, 2 year people.
Yeah,
Because
that's
I'm like,
cool.
they have questions too. So I'm just really excited about it. So
Yeah. And I think one of the things with that panel, and, I'm privileged enough to know them or have
you
had
are,
conversations with
very
them.
well. That's
It's
right.
it's such a privilege to be able to connect with these kind of people. But one thing that really stands out with every person that you have coming along is not only are they amazing at their businesses, not only have they developed really different types of businesses individually for what suits them, but they care about the community. They genuinely love helping other people in the community.
Yeah.
They give of themselves so freely in that way. And so I think, not only are you going to get this great business advice, but like they will really genuinely impart to you because they care.
Yeah.
And I think that makes such a difference.
Yes. I'm a
That's
testament
really
because
that's
I
really cool.
paid them. I paid them to impart over the years to me. So I'm a testament to be like, they really do care about you. It's true. It's true. And they've
Yeah.
helped me so
That
much.
That's amazing. All right. We're going to shift gears really quickly because
Yeah.
I want to be able to share some of your work. So,
Okay.
we've got a couple of kind of regular segments that we just
Yes.
wrap up the podcast with. The first one is an opportunity for you to show us your site. So, do you want to
Okay.
go ahead and share your screen and show us something that you've built that you're really proud of?
This is an all-time favorite of mine. Okay. This is just a personal favorite. I'm just sharing. This is for a high-end um a wedding videographer outside of New York. And I
So
just
cool.
her work was just beautiful and so immersive. And so this is just a personal favorite where we've just done these responsive video inlays and just made it's slightly animated as it pushes in. And her work
Um,
kind of built this. This is actually done in 2 days. This is a
wow.
2 day
That's
site
amazing.
for her. Yeah, and this is one of my I share this a lot because I get a lot of people who are like photographers, videographers, um,
Mhm.
but it's just, I mean, you got people getting married on beautiful yachts. It's just so it's beautiful
That's
work,
gorgeous. I love how
beautiful.
you've created this structure that it's gorgeous in of itself, but it really frames their work. Like, you can just
Yes.
see your eye is drawn to the beauty of their work, which I think is to do that really elegantly and to really put their work in the forefront. It's so well done.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a big fan of, I mean, it's not, but the Z down the page, left, right, pull them down, break
Mhm,
the grid.
mhm.
I know everyone's breaking the grid these days, but so 7.1 made that really special. I'm like, yes, I don't have to do that with code anymore. Thank you. So busted out of the frame. So that's a great one. And we could
Beautiful.
do, I don't, we could do one more. But have we see, we'll show this real quick. The designer retreat
Yeah.
was just
See?
so, colorful. This was the new one for me. I'm not usually this colorful. I'm usually dark and, not boring, but definitely darker. So, my office is dark blue. This one was just so bright and, like, it felt like Charleston in, like, a website. So, um
It's so fun. See, it's bright, but it's done so tastefully. It's done so well. I think you've used color really, really smart.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, and Rainbow Row in Charleston makes it easy, to just pull out, this is Rainbow Row right here. Yeah, to pull out the
It's
color
so
palette.
pretty.
It built itself, so, um, that was a fun one, and then, well, just one more, here. This is this is just I guess, an outlier for me, but this is a fence installer, which could be boring, I guess, for some
Mhm.
people to build whatever. But the fact that it's on Squarespace, with this giant mega menu here and all their
Oh,
locations
nice.
here, um, I really just studied their competition and was trying to figure out how do we build this in such a way that feels big, that feels easy to navigate for clients, that has some slight animation here, and that really
Mm,
unpacks their story. And it's performing exceptionally well for them outside of Orlando. Um, it's just clean design. Um, and really captured they're a large fence company, and it just captured who they are and what they do really well, in just this, a simple aesthetic, and it didn't feel like this is like us, not your typical Squarespace designs,
mhm.
here, and so that was just really special, and they
That's really
absolutely love it,
cool.
and they're able to maintain it because they were used to Squarespace, but they were on, an older version, and so this has just been a great upgrade for them in 7.1, so,
Yeah,
uh
that's such a great example of a site where, like, the complete opposite of the videographer that comes with like super professional like imagery that you can share.
Right.
And it's kind of that, often that's a bit easier to work with than someone
Yeah.
that comes in and they're like, hey, we build fences. I have 3 photos, learning how to deal with those
Yeah.
designs really, really well. And you've clearly done that
Well,
incredibly
thank
well
you.
in that.
Here's
It's
a
very
quick tip
impressive.
on that project 'cause,
Ooh,
tip one
we
one
love it.
tip. They did not have great customer photos.
Mm,
And so what I said was, "Let's call them customer photos," so that people are primed to know that these are actually customer photos, but they're not. They're photos that their team has taken, but they're just not great. But
yeah,
they're photos of the customers' things. And I said, "Let's use stock photos where we can, from your manufacturers, from stock. But then let's have this customer photo section that address so you can keep pouring those in there, but then people aren't expecting to see
that
beauty."
is so
So
smart.
and they were like,
That is
"That's
so
perfect
smart.
because 'cause they're installers, they're fence installers, and all they do is," they said, they're done fencing, and then the guy goes, "Okay, we
Click.
did it. Click." And I'm like, "Well, you know what? I'm not gonna have you send out a photographer to 40 locations a week. That's ridiculous. So let's
Right,
just
and
say."
and
Yeah.
expensive, like
And
you said,
expensive,
it's
expensive.
learning to see what
Yeah,
the business needs, what the business can afford. They might not be able to send that
yeah.
professional photographer out to get those, so
So I use that for another
brilliant.
company. I
Put that
just
up as
think
a
it's
nice little
that's right.
tip,
Yeah.
hot
So,
tips with Stephen.
thank you. If you don't have good
That is
photos, just call them
fantastic.
customer photos, and that'd be great. Yeah.
Nice,
So
it's a very good way of getting around it. All right, really quickly, a design confession. So something that didn't go well or something that you learned from, um, a little misstep that you can laugh about now.
laugh about now.
Well,
Um,
I mean, or or have emotionally processed.
it happened. That's right. Um, I think that, I don't design as many logos as I used to. I still do it. I still enjoy that process. But I designed a logo one time and they were like, it looks like an egg, like it looks like an egg yolk. And I was like, I don't so I think the biggest aha moments for me or any designer, right, is when you design something and you don't see what someone else sees.
Mm,
And they're like, here's my thing and here's what it is. And it was not supposed to be an egg yolk at all. And that's what they were like, what is this egg yolk? And I was like, what are you what? And like I just see this circle and the circle around it. Just all I see is this egg yolk. It's like yellow. I'm like, oh my gosh, I see it now. Oh shoot, it's an egg yolk.
yeah.
So yeah. So I think that's a small moment that comes to mind where I'm just like, but that's happened before where it's just that client like get it, and I think that's goes to getting them the thing faster. Because if I sit
Mhm.
on the egg yolk for a week and don't send it until Friday. I'm like, I think it's done. Let's just send it to him right now. I need that feedback because they're not going to like it. And if they don't like it on Monday, they're not going to like it when I send it on Friday. So it's
Yeah.
just like let's just send things quicker around here so we can find out how bad they don't like it as fast as we can, and then adjust and turn it around. So, I've had that a couple times. The therapist was another one where she was like, "This is absolutely nothing like I want, and it's not cool." And I was like, "Don't use the
Yeah.
word not cool with me," you know.
I am
Um,
so cool. You don't
that's
even
right.
know.
Hey, so you don't know who I am. So, those are some small ones, but
Yeah, yeah, that's
thankfully,
it's always funny, when you design something and you're like, "This is, this is great. This is exactly what you
yeah,
asked for." And then they're like,
that's right.
"How do you not see that very obvious thing?" You're like,
That's right.
A
That's right.
second set of eyes is always wise."
That's that's right.
Hey, that's amazing. All right, and then finally, when you're not staring at your computer screen delivering beautiful work for your clients, what do you do to kind of like decompress, get away from it, recharge a little bit? What's your like off the grid version of Steven?
Sure, off the grid. Off the grid is kind of is off the grid, I guess. We go to the mountains. We're in a great spot where we're like 3 hours from the beach and like 2 hours from the mountains. So I close shop for the holidays, like for Christmas. I take 3 weeks off. Like I don't
Nice.
respond to anything. I'm just gone. And so we go for a little ski trip. And we get away. So we like to do that. We live across from a little lake. It's like 800 acres. It's a small lake, but we tool around out there as a family. So getting out, outside and pretending to
Mm,
build things, building the garden boxes. I built a pergola swing set for the kids. So like,
nice.
um, I once heard someone say, this is not exactly right, but he was like, if you work with your mind, then you should take a break with your hands. Or if you work with your hands, then you should take
Mm,
a break with your mind. And so I heard that years ago. And I was like, I always like, I didn't do it consciously, but I feel like that's what I subconsciously always like to do is like, I'm outside in the yard building something, making something, like physical. I wish
mm.
websites were physical, but they're not, they're kind of right there in front of us. But, so yeah, being outside definitely is our family's pastime and mine for sure.
Yeah, nice, nice. I really like that, getting out and doing something physical if you work with your mind. That's very
Yeah.
smart. Amazing. Hey, well, this was so good. Thank you so much for joining us. Just quickly, in case anyone is interested in the designer retreat, or anything else that you have on offer or want to connect with you, how do people
Yeah.
get in touch with you?
So they can go to the designerretreat.com. There's a promo code they can use, SquareKicker, and they can get $150 off of their sign up, as well. And then also they can
Amazing.
check me out at pageonebranding.com, or just, there's not many Palacinos in the world. So they can just Google Stephen Palacino, and I usually come up right away for either Squarespace, Marketplace, or my website. So they can find me that way too. So
Fantastic. Gotta love the unique last
yeah,
names, right? Ippolito is a little bit the same.
that's right. That's right.
Um, especially here in New Zealand,
Yeah,
we
that's
are
right.
the only ones. Um, awesome. Hey, well, thanks everyone for joining us on Looks Good from here. Thank you, Stephen, for this conversation. It's been so valuable. I feel refreshed and recharged, and I'm sure that everyone would have, as they listen to this as well. So really appreciate this. If you're enjoying these chats, we have a whole first season you can go back and listen to if you haven't, or follow along with this season. We have some amazing guests coming up. So thanks everyone for spending this time with us.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for having me. It was great.